I was thinking the other day about this is pretty dumb, but I was thinking the other day that Goku is super lucky that he's in a world where like everything is about martial arts and fighting. Can you imagine if Goku was in a world where that wasn't the case? Like he would be the most useless guy and or in prison because of his skill set. Like he's just lucky that there's the World Martial Arts Tournament that pays millions of dollars and there's always an evil coming that wants to fight. If he was in Star Wars, now Goku can't defeat the Death Star. Or if he was like in a normal world.
So just different situations. Because I immediately pictured our normal world.
Well, like, yeah, like if he had to get an office job and that was just his, like if he had to support his family and he was in our world where nobody cares about martial arts tournaments and the grand prize is nowhere near enough to support.
Well, okay, couple things. First, Goku would absolutely have a beam struggle against the Death Star's laser and would probably win.
Oh my God. How cool would that be? Cool
mental image? Number 2, MMA exists. 3, if MMA wasn't a big deal and Goku just grew up here on, like, let's say landed as a Saiyan on this planet Earth and had to grow up through this system somewhere in Kansas, right? The Superman story. And it was Goku came down in a pod, hit his head, was raised by not Clark Kent. What's the fucking Martha Stewart and Tim Horton. If he was raised by Martha Stewart and Tim Horton, I know nothing about this. I don't care. Then he would grow up to probably be working at a 7-Eleven. Maybe the world would beat him down. He wouldn't be so happy-go-lucky. Or if he kept his personality, then he would just be the best 7-Eleven attendant in the world. And there's nothing wrong with being a 7-Eleven attendant. So I don't know if he's necessarily lucky or not, because I think Goku's just a piece of shit no matter where he is. I'm so over Goku as just he has the 3 modes: happy, hungry, angry. That's all he is. No growth or development. So is he lucky that he gets to thrive in a community that is built around the one thing he loves, which is conflict? I don't know. We have plenty of that on planet Earth. You could join the military. What
do you think would happen if during an MMA fight, one of the fighters just started flying?
That's a pretty big paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
Because that's never fucking happened before. It'd be the same thing as if a fighter shot a key blast. Like they're in a fight and then boom.
I think it's relevant to this episode because of what is happening in some of these episodes that we're going to talk about. I don't know what the answer is. I feel like the government would descend in like helicopters and stuff and like kidnap one of the fighters so that they could dissect him and study him. But maybe I'm too X-Files about the whole thing.
I could see that. That could be a thing. My question is the crowd's reaction, because if they reacted the way that I know I would react, everyone would stand up and start screaming, "Oh shit, it's real!" And then swarm this dude like, how? No more cars, no more gas problems, so many solutions. Teach us all. And then the guy would be like, "Well, I'm from Neptune, so suck a dick. You can't."
But also, I kind of feel like if you're drunk and at a wrestling match and that happened, you would just fucking cheer. Like it would just be the coolest goddamn thing. And you, like the only output would just be excitement and jubilance.
Yeah, if you were drunk, if the whole crowd was drunk, which if we're talking, what kind of wrestling?
Of course they're drunk.
WWF?
Yeah, well, MMA. We're talking MMA.
MMA watchers are hopped up as fuck on energy drinks and supplements. They have so many goddamn supplements. They have those bathrooms so close to the stalls because they know half of those people are on creatine. They're going to have to shit at least 5 times during that 30-minute match.
Are you saying that WWE was more of the drunk crowd?
Yes. How the fuck does anybody believe that shit unless they're drunk as hell?
Nobody believed it. I thought they were just entertained. Are there actually people that... It was a soap opera with in a wrestling ring.
People believed it. People believed that the gravedigger, what's his name, Undertaker, came back from the dead 6 times and whatever. They ignored the fact that every time you get punched, you also stomp the ground and the ring is made up of whatever it's made up of, fiber plexiglass material that is like a snare drum. So when you step on it, it goes bang. And it seems like that's what the punch is doing. They ignored that. They're just, they really thought that Hulk Hogan looked great. They really did. I'm not saying that those people are any dumber than us because we're sitting here talking about Dragon Ball motherfucking Z. So
it was a real world anime, I feel like.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
So you want to thank our patrons?
We want a big shout out to big one to the biggest motherfuckers around, the big boys on the Patreon. Here it is, the big boy shout out in the beginning.
The big boy shout out's very good. Here we are to deliver that to the two special people in the highest tier of our Patreon, Vince McMahon and the Gravedigger, otherwise known as Tyler Hyatt and Spencer Feuerstein.
Tyler is not known as Vince McMahon. I don't know where that came from because I'm pretty sure that got cut out of the beginning of this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is we either that comes out of nowhere or we leave a little bit of the beginning in, which I don't know.
Now that I don't know
which way it's going to go.
It can come out of nowhere, I think. This is the qualifier to allow it to exist.
And now there's just this mystery conversation about Vince McMahon that nobody will ever know the context of.
Except for these two people and anybody else on our Patreon that will be able to give it a listen.
Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/EHDBZ.
It's a short one.
Where you can find a bunch of cool stuff. All you got to do is donate a little bit to us. And we got a bunch of bonus content for you that we're adding to near constantly. Commentaries on the DBZ movies, reviews of the DBZ movies, deleted scenes, dark deleted scenes, which is the
nudes
stuff that your grandma can't listen to.
Did you say stuff your grandma can't listen to because we have the dark deleted scene about grandmas? Is that why you said that?
Wait, do we? No, that was not planned. That's fun.
Oh, okay.
That's all. Good job, guys. Thanks for donating, and check out our Patreon page if you get a second. That's
it. We're done.
And we're done. Previously on Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z, we got people at the World Martial Arts Tournament. It's like the 25th or something, and it's back, baby. And the kids, they're fighting, punching each other up the wazoo. But guess what? Trunks and Goten, they win it all. And then they decide to go into the adult tournament by putting on a fucking trench coat. That's right. They beat up an old guy and take his clothes and go into the real adult fights. Oh, and there was a mysterious creatures that showed up there, different colored skin, and everybody judged them. But they were kind of right too, because they're sort of like aliens, I guess. I don't know, but they're here now. So now the tournament begins, and we're gonna watch it. This time on Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z.
I like how it was an absolute decrescendo just back to you being normal you.
I couldn't just flip the switch like you can. All right, welcome to Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z. I'm Spencer.
And I'm John.
And today we're going to be going over episodes 215 to 219 of Dragon Ball Z. Fun fact, I decided to do this one different.
What do you mean?
I did not load in the episode titles before I watched the episodes. Usually when I'm structuring my note file, I'll jump into Wikipedia, copy paste the episode titles, and then, structure all that out. So all I got to do is just watch all 5 episodes back to back to back and then fill in the notes. This time I did not, and I waited till the end to pull the episode titles. These episodes were so much more enjoyable as a result because I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen, and I wasn't spoiled. Like the fact that last episode, there was an episode called Trunks Wins It All or some shit. I was a little disappointed because I knew who was going to win that fight. Yeah. A lot of the times in Dragon Ball Z, you'll know who's going to win the fight. Like if it's, the big bad Cell versus Krillin, you can kind of know that Krillin's going to lose because Goku, or Gohan at least, has to defeat Cell. But this time it was Trunks versus Goten. Who knows? But the episode title told me, so I did.
Yeah, you wanted like a real tournament that was going to be full of surprises. You right now are the World Martial Arts Tournament announcer. You are Eric Vale's character. You want to see a good ass fight. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't want to know the outro.
Yeah, exactly. And I had an incredibly enjoyable experience watching these episodes. Episode 215. Let's start off with the official titles. The Japanese title is "What's the Matter, Piccolo?" An unheard of no fight forfeit. The American title is Forfeit of Piccolo.
Yeah, good thing you didn't get the titles because that one is such an overt, flat out fucking spoiler.
Both in Japanese and English.
My title is The One Where the Namekian Plays Chicken.
This episode opens with the world's martial arts tournament starting in earnest. The kids' battles are over. People are getting excited. There's like a band. Could you figure this out? The band was orchestrated, played by all of the people are police.
Well, a couple things. They are doing it for Videl specifically because Videl's always helping the police. Also, I 100% believe this is a thing, specifically in this universe, because that would explain why the police are so fucking inconsequential and don't do shit, because they're all busy practicing this band.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense, because otherwise they'd be out there fighting crime, beating the criminals down, but no, they're too busy figuring out how a trombone works.
It is a really large band, and the press is interviewing Hercule. And Hercule is totally in Hercule mode.
Yep, he's on a throne and shit.
He's like, well, I think we got a decent turnout this year. And he does this really cool like cross leg. He's on the throne, and he kicks his leg all the way up so that it like overlaps his face before it goes down, showing his agile flexibility. And he finds out that he's up against a woman in his first fight and is just automatically sexist.
Yeah. I wonder who's going to win that. Yeah.
And then it goes into the locker room, the sort of prep area looking out into the tournament grounds where the fighters all rest.
This fighters area it feels like a barn.
And it's not like a lounge area. It's just a room. Like there's
just a pavilion. Nearly.
Yeah, there's nothing notable about it. I think there's like a couple benches and that's it.
And like some windows, and they just have to stand in there.
Well,
like
even the windows are just holes. And they just have to stand there behind the Marshall sign. But Piccolo's got his mind on something.
He's stressing.
Gohan and Videl are the first to notice. Gohan kind of says, hey, Piccolo, do we have anything to worry about here? Like, I thought it was a cool link that these two mysterious sort of characters, I can't remember their names in the show that they give.
Shin and Red Guy. I don't remember his name either.
Yeah, I don't know that he gets a name. I like any kind of parallel between Gohan and Piccolo, and this was a nice one.
Yeah.
They're each supposed to fight one of these newcomers that have appeared suddenly. Piccolo doesn't say anything. Krillin remarks to Goku that him fighting Vegeta is kind of like having the last round first, which audience surrogate. Krillin will continue to do that throughout these entire episodes.
I don't hate Krillin with hair.
He grew the beard just on top. It's Riker, but on top of the head instead of on the bottom of the head.
I like this Krillin
really
much better. He knows where he stands with everything. He understands how he should act. They just wrote him really well. We get a weird cut to someone who I honestly didn't expect us to follow ever again, which is Douche Hair Guy.
Like the high school gang shows back up in the crowd. Sharpener and Erasa.
Who I called Marissa, so I just wrote that down again.
But it's weird that they both have something to do with pencils. I don't know what that means.
Because they're at school.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know who the other guy is. There's a third guy there.
There is a third guy.
And I've never seen this fucking man before in my life, but he's just there. We get a cut to Bulma and Chi-Chi. We get a couple Bulma Chi-Chi cuts that I don't know. I don't know how you felt about it. The pacing in these episodes always felt like there was one or two cuts to characters that didn't have to be there.
Oh, of course. I'm not going to say that it's the first time that this has happened. Maybe it was just more noticeable in these 5. Yeah. I didn't mind it though, because this was these 5 episodes are sort of a transition.
It is.
It's going from one plot to another plot, and it very slowly, and I think it does it well, moves over from one thing to another. And so you get bits and pieces of the old plot and the new plot kind of commingling. And a lot of characters, like character information is very important. Certain characters don't know that other things are happening. And so the things that they talk about when the camera goes to them and focuses on them may or may not have anything to do with what's the bigger plot that's sort of emerging, that's kind of bubbling up. So any Chi-Chi Bulma moments are just going to be about the crowd, the fighters, Gohan, who's going to win between Goku and Vegeta, things like that. But interestingly, and something that I really appreciated, was every time that it goes to Piccolo or somebody noticing Piccolo, it does this musical cue. And it's very unlike the music that we've heard up until this point in this saga. It's sort of a telegraph to the audience that hey, we have the World Martial Arts Tournament, and then there's this thing going on. There's like a sixth sense that's pulling them toward this. And I really appreciated that.
Because it's never outright telling you that these are going to be the villains. Because it's Dragon Ball Z and you're expecting villainy. You're expecting the big bad guy. But every time it focuses on them, it just portrays a feeling of mystery, of something's happening. All 5 of these episodes are a good build up to what the fuck is happening, I think.
Yeah. But the tournament continues on as normal. Krillin and this guy named Pintar are up first. Krillin has a great line where Goku's like, break a leg, Krillin. And Krillin says, as long as it's not one of mine.
Krillin's got some lines that are pretty good. That was one where I was like,
No, that's a good line. Shut up, John.
No, I like the line where they're in the ring and Pintar's just talking shit. Pintar starts, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to imitate his voice because it's fucked up.
It's Pintar is...
we already talked about it. It's the 90s version of anybody from the Middle East. That's what it is.
And he's very large and he's wearing the clothes of the genie from...
So anyway, Pintar's talking shit. And Krillin says, well, I better take it easy on this guy. I don't want to cause him any more brain damage.
Which is pretty good. Pintar gets a couple good stabs in. Hey, I reserved the best hospital room that I could. I just thought I'd do you a little favor there. They're trash talking each other. They make mention of Pintar losing in the semifinals last time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of references to a tournament that I don't think we ever saw.
No, we didn't see it. No one that was there saw it but Videl.
Right. So there's the tournament where Goku defeated Piccolo originally when he was a kid. And then there was this mystery tournament. That's the one that Hercule won. And then there was this huge gap. And then we've got the one that we're at right now. Right?
Yeah.
These episodes reference that tournament that we never saw a lot.
Yes. And they do it in sepia filter through a flashback. So at least they're doing flashbacks correctly. But the person that reflects on this is Killa. And Killa is this kind of beefy black dude who, when he speaks...
Dude, he was unintelligible. I have a note on that later. I couldn't understand what he's saying. Even with the Japanese subtitles, like, I have no idea what that character was saying. He was like a black boomhauer.
Yes, that's it.
I don't know what was going on there
Every time he talks, it's Black Boomhauer, and I don't know if he actually spoke real words in this part. Later on, he speaks real words and you can understand what he says, but in this part, I think he really just... Like, they might have just been fucking around. I want to go back and listen to it again because I do listen to it on 1.2 speed, and I noticed it was kind of fast speaking, but also I
couldn't decipher it.
I don't think they said real words, so they just were having a field day in the office. Yeah, what do you want to do for this guy's voice? I don't know. Wouldn't it be funny if we just make him go and they did that. And so it was a flashback to Pintar in the last tournament. So like, wow, he's been improving. That's the whole point of that. Pintar flips a ton. Decides to just go all out and flip a whole bunch of times, a ton of backflips just to show off. Like, oh, size is better, Krillin. Because Pintar is huge. Pintar is like 3 Krillins stacked on top and also 2 Krillins wide. Pintar's massive. Pintar gets cocky and says, I'll let you have the first hit, which is just the fucking dumbest thing you could possibly do. Predictably, Krillin bats him out, punches him.
Got him in the gut, then slaps him around and gets him out of the ring. And Krillin wins easily. He walks off the ring, very confident. Piccolo is up next in the, I almost said ready room, in the locker room.
Well,
Trunks is getting juice. Remember, they're stacked on top of each other. And Goten's like, I want juice. Trunks, don't leave me in the donkey ass part of the costume. And so Trunks,
the entire costume of a donkey is the ass part of the costume, Spencer.
Now who's making stupid jokes?
I'm Krillin. Look at me. Let me write Krillin.
Anyway, Trunks and Goten are around there drinking juice.
I like every cut that we have to them. And there's only a couple, but I like them. I like Trunks and Goten. I remember not liking them, thinking they were annoying kids. I actually like them now.
There's not enough of them to be annoying, I think. They've got just enough screen time, and they're so out of the loop. Goku, Piccolo, Krillin, Vegeta, they're all talking about stuff. And they're just sort of off on their own because nobody knows that they're in the trench coat. So I enjoyed them as well. I think it was a nice addition, and they weren't focused enough on to be annoying. Piccolo steps up to the ring with Shin. Shin is the small purple white-haired guy. As Piccolo is stepping up, the World Tournament announcer recognizes Piccolo from the previous Tenkaichi tournament, or 2 tournaments ago, and says, hey, this time try to leave the stadium intact, okay? And we get some more weird accents from the audience as they comment, like, hey, that's the guy from the tournament. Piccolo can't get a read on this guy, his opponent, the mysterious purple skinned guy. He's sensing something and he can't quite figure out, like he recognizes the energy as something. Yeah.
But he doesn't know what it is. So he's in the middle of this ring and the match starts and Shin stares at Piccolo. And there is a moment before they get in the ring, I want to mention this, where Piccolo thinks in his head, I feel like I understand this, but I don't know where he's from. And Shin says out loud, remember, it's Ma something?
Ma Jr.
Ma Jr. Yeah, so Piccolo is going under the alias of Ma Jr. And Shin says, I hope you're ready, Piccolo. Piccolo's standing in the ring, trying to power up. And he finds that he just can't. He can't get it up. And he's really anxious about it. And Shin's like, it's okay. We can try again later if you're feeling better. And now this is becoming more of a personal story. So I'm going to let Spencer take it back to where we're supposed to be.
Oh my God. So yeah, Piccolo can't focus. So he's just like, I recognize this energy. I think I know who this guy is. And if I were to even try to fight, there's just no chance. So I withdraw. I'm out. And he just kind of raises his arms up. He's like, I'm done.
Let's be a little more specific, because Piccolo thinks in his head, it couldn't be him. Why would he be here? And then out loud, Shin just says, I promise you'll know soon. So Shin is reading Piccolo's thoughts.
It's legitimately freaky. Because I don't think we've ever seen this kind of presentation. Like, we've seen mind reading before in DBZ, but we haven't seen this kind of presentation of it before. Yeah. And we still don't know who these guys are. And we don't know why they're here at this tournament playing by all the rules, which every DBZ villain up to this point has not done that. It's just, it's really creepy. We feel the same unsettlement as Piccolo does. So I don't mind when Piccolo just sort of steps back and says, I withdraw. Although he is kind of throwing Krillin to the wolves, because according to the tournament roster, now Krillin's going to go up against this purple skin guy. So which I thought was funny. Anyway, so Videl and Spopovich are up next. Spopovich is the giant tank of a man that's also bald in the black leotard. He's got a little, I don't know if it's like a sidekick, but sort of a double. It's like a skinnier version of the.
And I don't know what his name is. Yeah, I just never stuck
like
in my head.
It's like Yuma or Yona. I don't know. It's something. I wrote it down eventually, but not here. They're very super strange.
Yeah, they're creepy. They're extremely angry and sweaty and gross.
And bald.
And I said gross already, Spencer.
And that, like, to cap off the episodes as Spopovich, steps up to the ring with Videl, there's this weird shot of like his face, and then in his mouth, Shin's face appears. There's some weird cinematography in these episodes, and I don't think I'm going to do it just to describe it, but it's one of those very artistic, like, transition shots.
Anime transitions that take inspiration from how it's drawn in the manga, and I think they do a pretty good job.
Okay. Actually. Yeah, I mean, they're good. Like, I don't mean to say that they're bad, but they are abnormal for sure.
They are.
Anyway, we end with a focus of this Shin character assessing Spopovich as Spopovich squares off against Videl as we're ready to begin the next round of the tournament. Episode 216. The Japanese title is Undyingly Unpleasant, The Mystery of Spopovich. The American title is A Dark and Secret Power.
My episode title is First Blood, Part Videl. I know we talked about this before, you and I, and it didn't make it into the episode. I just cut it out, and it's not in the deleted scenes either. But there was a moment where we talked about Videl getting punched by some guy, and I asked, you don't like violence against women, do you? Not that I do, but...
Yeah, right.
You're like, well, of course not. It just seemed fucked up. These next two episodes are that to the power of itself. It's fucking brutal.
I had a hard time with some of these scenes, and I think that the show did a good job because you're supposed to have a hard time with these scenes. Very rarely does DBZ communicate violence well, and by that I mean, like, in a fight between two characters, Goku, for instance, could have the shit beating out of him, and you don't really feel anything because you know he's just going to stand up and then beat the shit out of the villain, and then you don't feel anything because you know that the villain's just going to stand back up and then beat the shit out of Goku. These are two ancillary characters, one of which we know literally nothing about, and are on the chopping block, so to speak. Like, both are equally on the chopping block. They don't have street cred, plot armor.
They don't have DBZ street cred.
Yeah.
I don't know. Videl cut her hair, so she looks like one of the assholes in the.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like the show up to this point has been following enough of a sort of a character study development kind of vibe for the past few episodes that you could conceivably do something horrible like kill off Videl, and have it be a motivating factor for Gohan, and have that be a really effective tool for the audience to feel the same thing that Gohan is feeling. She's been a really well introduced character, but she hasn't been around for that long. She's still vulnerable. So, spoilers, I guess, because we kind of revealed what's going to happen. But Spopovich, the big bald guy, is fucking weird. Maybe the weirdest, most disgusting character I've seen on DBZ. He is basically rabid. He foams at the mouth. He growls. Like he doesn't say anything. There's no words. And he's really veiny and gross. Like it's just disgusting.
Or is it really fucking hot? You decide. Email us.
You just derailed me completely. There's a couple things that happen on the sidelines during this. Piccolo faces off against Shin in like the locker room for a second and still kind of struggles with revealing his true identity. Chi-Chi finally approves of Videl and says like, yeah, that's Gohan's future wife. And Bulma's like, that girl? Piccolo asks if Shin is a Grand Kai. That's his working theory, that this person in front of them is actually the Grand Kai. And Shin says, no, that's ridiculous. I'm the Supreme Kai. Does Piccolo ever verbally make mention of the Kais before now?
Well, Kami did for sure, because Kami's the one that sent Goku on Snake Way. You're going to go train with.
Yeah, which I guess would make sense why Piccolo would know. It just felt really like a really weird, we're going to expand the world building instantly. And Piccolo knows all about the Kais. The Grand Kai specifically is what weirded me out, because I feel like Goku didn't know about the Grand Kai. I don't know. Maybe that's...
They try and explain it, because they have a little recap of how the Kaio order exists, which is there are the different Kais for the different cardinal directions, north, south, blah, blah, blah. I could have just said east, west instead of blah, blah, blah. It's the same number of fucking words. And then above them is the Grand Kai. And this is all in Otherworld. Grand Kai is above all of them. Piccolo says, I always suspected there was something higher than all of them, but I never knew for a fact. It was the Supreme Kai, must be the biggest, highest guy. So it's like, there's an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, okay, where Dennis, one of the characters, creates a cult. And he's just making shit up as things are going along. Another character starts also adding things and subtracting things to the cult. So they're like battling for who's generating this hierarchy in the cult. And it's like, okay, this guy is the master. Oh, I just got a call from the Supreme Master. Oh, I got an email from the Grand Master Overlord, and he's everybody's boss. And they just like inventing shit. It's like little kids would do. That's kind of what this feels like. At
the same time, I admire this more mystical Piccolo.
Yeah,
where
that's
like
fun.
He's meditating all the time. He's quiet. He's by himself. What's he thinking about? What's in that old noggin of his?
That's true.
And he's thinking about the nature of the universe. He might, as a conspiracy theorist would say, like thinks up this shadow government that is pulling the strings and everything. And he just happens to be right. There's a Supreme Kai.
I love that the connection that Piccolo here is a LSD taken conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic. Has a bunker.
He has nothing else to draw on but his own little thoughts. So
and it's interesting because he doesn't know for a fact. And so that adds for the audience a sense of mystery to Supreme Kai's existence at all, which is
the whole mystery of these episodes is brilliant.
Mysterious. Mysterious is a fantastic way to describe.
So he doesn't know for sure, but he can kind of sense, okay, this seems like the Kai's energy, but I don't know. But why is he on Earth? That's a huge question.
That's the biggest question. And
it's not answered in this episode, which is great.
I'm confused by two of my notes here, and I think it's because I was only half paying attention when I was writing them, and trying to pay attention to something else. I wrote, Popo walks into the ring and is all sweaty and disgusting. Spopovich, but I wrote Popo. And then also I wrote, Videl beats the fuck out of Videl, and it's an all right fight.
I picked up on your context clues. I know what's going on. So Spopovich and Videl start fighting in earnest, because that's sort of the main event, and they're not privy to what's going on with Piccolo and Supreme Kai and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It is actually a pretty good fight, and Videl easily gets the upper hand because she's an amazing fighter. Knocks Spopovich down. Spopovich just gets back up.
We always say that the fights where the fighters are somewhat equal in strength are the best fights. And so that's why this one's pretty entertaining, because it's not just a one-hit knockout. It's not a hit it and quit it kind of thing. It's not like, oh, we know Goku's going to win. So it seems like Videl has the upper hand, but Spopovich throughout this fight just kind of keeps standing up.
Everybody in the audience is surprised. There's an old guy that goes, wow.
Yeah.
Spopovich just continues not saying anything, it freaks me out a little bit. Like
it's
it
unnerving. It's a
unnerves
very
me.
unnerving experience. It goes from, oh yeah, having fun. Videl is actually really strong and she has new moves. Yeah, she's kicking ass, to what is happening? Like, I don't like what's happening. And I think they present that feeling very well.
It's incredible the way that it gets the audience, and by audience, I mean the people watching the anime, to feel as unnerved as the characters inside the anime eventually feel.
It helps that they keep showing the gang, and there's a moment where Goku notices something isn't right. After Spopovich gets up like the 4th or 5th time, Goku notices, and Goku doesn't say anything, but looks at Vegeta. And Vegeta looks at Goku, and Goku just motions his head back to the ring, and they both silently stare. Like, it's unnerving as fuck.
But they're on the same page. I love that little silent agreement between them. The main characters, like, I won't say smartest, but like the people that know usually what's going on in this universe are clueless. They're putting the pieces together at the same time that we are. It's perfect. So Videl goes all out. She keeps getting back up, and she's like, I'm gonna take you out, Spopovich. And Spopovich goes down and then gets back up, gets a hit on Videl, and Videl just slides across the floor. She's just dead. And Chi-Chi yells from the crowd, I won't let you marry Gohan if you don't get up right now. In maybe my favorite shot of the episode for sure, Videl keeps sliding across the floor. She slides off the ring. She's going down towards the ground, and she stops an inch above the grass, and she's flying. It's so good. It's payoff.
It's the best reveal.
Yeah, exactly. For all those episodes where she learned to fly, this is the payoff for that moment where she stops herself from losing the match, doing what Gohan taught her to do.
It stuns the crowd, and also it's amazing as a character moment because that is not how she wanted to reveal this thing. She wanted to show her dad, and her dad is not even watching this fight. Hercule is in his ready room, his personal ready room with a throne and a servant, effectively, and is doing nothing but being Hercule alone. She's not happy that she has to use the flying to get out of this situation.
But she does.
And it is, I agree. Great shot. Best shot of the episode, easily.
It's very good. Videl gets back into the ring, goes after Spopovich, just beats the crap out of him, and accidentally breaks his neck. Twists his head around, and you can hear the crack, and Spopovich is not facing the correct direction.
His head is 180, like a horror movie. It's back.
It's gross, and the audience of the tournament reacts accordingly.
Yeah, just goes silent.
And everybody's like, oh shit, Videl just killed somebody. And the World Tournament announcer's like, well, Videl used unnecessary force, and even though she won the fight, I guess she's been disqualified for the tournament. We see audience reactions. Yamcha is over with Chi-Chi and Bulma and covers up Krillin's daughter's
Marin's face.
Eyes, like, hey, don't watch, this is gross.
Which was actually a good move.
A nice little touch. And then Spopovich gets back up and twists his head around, and he's alive. And Eric Vale even says he's alive. There's like this weird turn in genre.
Yes, it happened like this.
Yeah, the snap of the fingers, and we're in straight up horror territory now. You can feel it turn, and all of a sudden it's terrifying.
The way that Spopovich twists his head back isn't just like slow crack turn around. He yanks it up about 2 feet above his body, and it stretches his neck out, and then he just drops it, and it snaps back into place where it should go. It's not cartoony.
Yeah, it's grotesque. It's terrifying. And the audience reacting plays into that as well.
Yes.
Like, in universe, this is unnatural. Spopovich kicks Videl once, and Videl is down, and there's a lot of blood. Videl uses her newfound advantage and flies up, and I have no idea who will win at this point. Like, nobody's overpowered. I mean, Spopovich obviously is pulling some tricks, but Videl's still keeping up as best she can. Because Videl can fly, it's her advantage. She's got the upper hand. But then Spopovich can frickin' fly too. And at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, Videl's just going to die. And then the episode ends.
Yeah, it's terrifying. He flies up above Videl. And this show has a lot of shots where it'll show a character above another character to try and show this is a strong character. And they do that here, where Spopovich is simply up above flying.
But I think it works so well that because we were never aware that Spopovich could even fly.
Yeah. How would you describe this episode? Because it's a turn, but it's not nearly as much of a turn as the next episode.
It's part one of the turn. These whole 5 episodes are the show changing. And I love it because whenever the show has done something like this in the past, it's been on a dime and you get whiplash.
Right.
And it's something that's really difficult to recover from. And I think the show is criticized for some of those moments. But this is perfectly executed. And it happens so slowly and so deliberately. And everything is just perfectly laid out that by the time you get to the end of this section, I wasn't disappointed at all that we're moving away from the World Tournament.
I wanted to know what was up with this. I want to know where they're flying.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with these dudes with those sweaty.
I'm on board with the mystery and
the
getting
unkillable
the answers.
men. Yeah.
And before we get to episode 3, I'm going to run to the restroom and John's going to do a mid-roll shout out.
That's not true. I'm not doing it this time. We're going to wait until you're back and you're going to do it.
Well, then copy and paste the patron lists because I don't have that in front of me.
Okay, fine. Well, now I got another minute and a half where I'm just gonna fucking sit here, I guess. You have to do a mid-roll showdown.
Oh, god damn it.
So
I forgot about that. Those wonderful patrons are Spencer Feuerstein, Tyler Hyatt, Artex, the creator, Andrew Winden, Dan, and Richard.
Really?
Alavarez. Alan is
wow, you didn't give Dan a last name and then fuck up Richard's like crazy.
Well, that's a funny in-joke between me and Richard because he sent us an email.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
no.
He sent us an email about the pronunciation. And he said that your fake pronunciation of his last name was the best that he'd ever heard.
Okay.
But I don't remember what that was, so
I don't remember what I did.
I just said whatever. And then he said the correct pronunciation, but then I forgot what that was. So I just kind of spun it a couple times and hopefully we're good. Those are the patrons for our mid-roll shout out. Thank you guys so much for donating. I want to cry every time I see this list because it's just getting bigger with people.
It's just getting bigger and I'm frightened. I'm scared.
I feel like the audience when Spopovich spun his neck around.
Yeah. If you would also like to hear us horribly butcher your name, check us out. Patreon.com/DBZ. We got a bunch of bullshit. We plug it all the fucking time. You're sick of us talking about it. And we're not going to put any more effort into trying until the end of the episode. And then we're going to do it again.
And then we'll do it one more time. Well, let's get back to the show, though, with episode 217. The Japanese title is A Tragic Fidel. Are you coming out, angry Super Gohan? The American title is Videl is Crushed. I'm reading the Japanese titles for the first time because I didn't copy and paste them in like I usually do. I can't get over that Japanese title, man. That is ridiculous on so many levels.
It is. It really doesn't. Okay. The Japanese title is like fun and games almost. This is the most gruesome, violent episode of Dragon Ball Z that we have ever had. I would say pretty easily. There's definitely been blood in DBZ. Of course there has. And we enjoy it. I liked it in this one too. But my episode title is Spencer is going to hate this episode.
I do. It sucks because I love this episode.
Yes.
But that's the point. Like, this episode was constructed to make you feel a certain way.
Yes.
That no other DBZ episode has ever tried to make you feel before. This episode was written, directed, and animated in a way to elicit a certain emotion from the audience, and it's very successful.
It's extremely
I appreciate it for that.
I think that they tried in other points in time,
like with Frieza, like with Krillin and Frieza, it was when it was a little excessive and stuff. Yeah, and that stuff for
like
sure.
That, but they didn't. It was not nearly as successful. It almost felt grating. Like we wanted something else out of it. It didn't present itself properly.
I keep wondering like why that is, and I think it's because they established Videl as a character before, like really well. We said this before, like when she's introduced, she's like built up really well, and this is sort of the payoff of that. Is you see something horrible happen to her, and like you want to help just as much as Gohan wants to help just as much as anyway, we'll get to that, but it's incredibly effective. It's not just two dude bros going at each other. Like, this is,
considering everything that came before it, this is, so far, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, and when I say this, I mean this little saga, because we're done after this. This is the end of the.
I know. I didn't know that when I was watching these episodes, and then I came to the end of the last episode. I'm like, holy shit, that's it for the season. We're done.
It worked out perfectly. It was 20 episodes. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is the best arc that we've ever had. We said that Bardock is the iPhone of DBZ, and I really believe it is, because it's so well packaged and you get everything you want right in there, and open it up. It's a whole presentation. I have yet to come up with a proper analogy for this, because it's like opening an entire Apple suite of things, and you have a week to set it up, and you just take your sweet time and you get everything that you want. I don't even like Apple products normally.
It's a good analogy because they're famous for being able to present well. And
and I mean that works for me because I don't like Apple products normally, and then I also don't like slice of like anime shit normally because it's boring to me. I don't give a shit about watching two teenagers blossom their love. I don't fucking care. But I do care about watching Gohan and this character that they've very, very nicely produced and introduced, which is why we care when this episode comes around and Spopovich is still in the air and takes the time to gather dark purple energy in his hand and fire it at Videl, and it strikes her.
Not only can Spopovich fly, he can use key energy.
Yes.
Which Videl can't do. So all of a sudden, you've gone from Videl having the upper hand, being able to fly, to Spopovich not only be able to meet her, but be one step above.
Yes.
And it sucks.
At this point, there's still a little bit of hope that Videl is going to overcome Spopovich.
And I wanted it. I wanted her to get
too.
the upper hand so badly.
Spopovich really hammers Videl back down to the ground. And then Videl, bloody, starts getting back up.
I cannot tell you how much I loved that. Because as much as I knew that it was going to lead to something bad, I really appreciated her character because it's just so consistent. She is absolutely the person that would get up again in the face of all this because she wanted to win.
This episode really displays that Videl is all of those positive things that we see could exist in Hercule, except in a character we actually like 100% of the time.
Yeah. And it's interesting because she builds herself up based on the indoctrination almost that Hercules taught her. Like, my note is Videl raises her self-confidence with lies.
She's bleeding a ton, and she's saying, there's no way that this clown can beat me. I'm the daughter of Hercule, the man that defeated Cell and saved the world.
That's right. And she doesn't even realize it, but yeah. And she goes down anyway, and then gets back up.
When she was beating the shit out of Spopovich didn't seem to be taking much damage.
Yeah.
She, after every beatdown, is bloodier and bloodier and bloodier. Like it is grotesque. And those hits are so intense whenever she gets smacked. I had a hard time watching it.
It was difficult to watch.
Yeah.
And in fact, when it cuts to Hercule, like you were talking about before when he's posing in the mirror, this is when it cuts to him. I hated Hercule.
I did too.
It twisted it so much that the comic relief, funny guy, strongman character, I fucking hated him because he wasn't watching his daughter get beat. And like, he doesn't know that this is happening as a character. But like, again, it's very effective at inciting an emotion within the audience to a degree that I never would have given Dragon Ball Z credit for ever. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. Like this, I hated Hercule in this moment. Because Videl was in trouble and he just wasn't there.
And they succeeded perfectly. It's really, really painful, but you have to give it credit that it did exactly what it wanted to. I think this episode and this thing happening has been on Toriyama's mind for a while as to how he can switch up the story to be more big bad guy DBZ fighting stuff. How to introduce the bigger thing. I think Toriyama did intentionally choose to torture his new character that he really likes and that the audience really likes because it gets us immediately on board for revenge. I also think this is why Toriyama cut Videl's hair, because it is easier to accept Videl getting the shit kicked out of her with shorter hair because, and I don't agree with this, but this is how it has been through history. Typically, women do not have short hair.
Really? I mean, I'm saying really at the fact that you think.
I know that's why I'm saying it's a theory, and maybe that's me just assigning more value to the whole hair in anime thing than actually exists. But I know.
Well, you know what?
Your hair in
you know
anime
what
means
sucks. Like I can picture Videl with long hair getting the shit beat out of her, and I hate it more than I hated this,
exactly.
and I still hate this a lot.
Exactly. That's exactly.
I don't.
I'm saying
I don't
this.
understand why my brain is doing that though. Like I don't get where that's coming from.
It's historical programming. I don't like it either. That's just how it's manufactured into our brains. It's just like when we were talking about we don't respect stuff that's not by the original author as much, even though we should, and we may even like other things more. This is just one of those ingrained things. It's fucked up. It's weird. I know this is a weird, out of the box, and probably untrue, just in my own head theory. But just the fact that you thought about it and it affected you in that way too.
Yeah, well, as a younger, middle-aged white guy living in the United States, watching anime in their privileged state, we are the same in that regard. And so maybe there's somebody in another corner of the world that views this differently, but we've been influenced by society in the same way from the same point because we're the same peer group.
Are you saying that all lower middle-aged white guys in a privileged state feel the exact same way? Are you saying that all of them are the same? Is that what you're trying to fucking tell me right now?
I think I'm a little racist towards lower middle-aged white guys.
Well, they're pieces of shit. I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying they're not all the same.
No, I think they are.
I don't think they are. I give myself positive affirmations because then otherwise I end up becoming a
Spopovich.
Yeah. I don't want to be Spopovich. I look kind of like him from the neck up, but I don't go around.
Dude,
beating the
when
shit out of
this episode started and you get a look at Spopovich, there's a shot of his shoulder next to his head and they're both equal sizes. I thought he had two heads for a second.
Yeah.
Like there was just
gross.
a little bit, like I caught it out of the corner of my eye. He's grossly buff.
Spopovich is a disgusting character.
He's so gross.
Yeah. It's a design thing. I think Toriyama was super successful in this point. I don't think he is a lot of the time. I think Toriyama sucks ass at writing.
It's weird, right? Because I feel like up until this point, and this is like with the thought in the back of my head that this is eventually going to go off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everything from the Saiyan saga until now has been Toriyama learning.
Yeah,
how to tell a story successfully.
I completely agree.
And it's paying off in spades, like at this moment. What the fuck happens in the next few episodes that just tanks it?
I don't know. Everyone says it happens too. Everyone says that this is going to become a goddamn train wreck. I'm ready to watch it hit the other train.
I'm so scared. This has been my favorite arc of Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. It's so good.
I think it would still be my favorite arc if it was 50 episodes and it kept this quality. If it maintained this level of emotional
I want
action.
to see more of the tournament.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like draw it out more, please. And I don't think that I've ever said that about DBZ before.
Especially because I went into this remembering that I hated the Saiyaman stuff. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I wonder what it is about it that, like, I guess as kids we were just like, yeah, beat up the bad guy. Now it's a more nuanced sort of character study, as much as DBZ can be.
We didn't understand Gohan's point. We only felt like the characters in the show react to Gohan's actions. We felt like, wow, that is lame. I hate it as kids without thinking about it any further, going, well, what does Gohan think about it? Oh, he really is trying to act like his father. Like he's got character reasons for doing the things he's doing. Whatever. 12-year-old is going to fucking think about that. They're like, why aren't you punching each other? Where's the sweat and the screaming?
And I don't know how 12-year-old me would have thought about this scene because God,
I'm curious. I'm curious, honestly, to see the Funimation released Toonami or wherever version of this, because there is so much blood. There's blood in every single shot.
I was thinking about that. Like, did they replace it with like clear so it's like sweat? I don't know. I don't know what they do. They cut it entirely?
But oh my God, it's fucking brutal with all the blood. There's a point where Spopovich is holding Videl's head, like picks her up by the hair and is screaming. Like, the voice actress also did a really good job of conveying the amount of pain that Videl was in.
Side note, is Videl and Goten the same voice actor?
I don't know. There was some I could see that. There were some points in there where it sounded pretty samey as far as a couple
the screaming and torture was not one of those moments, but
no. It was when she was really fucked up and she was trying to say, "No, I will still fight."
The little bit of a deeper voice. Yeah.
Spopovich is holding her head, pounding on her chest. And if this were reality, all of her internal organs will have combusted and she would be dead. And we still have about 8 minutes of her being tortured. Like, this is just the middle of it, really.
Yep. Although I like this part more because the other characters in the arena start to react and start to want to do something. Gohan goes Super Saiyan and like starts to go out into the ring. The other bald guy steps up to like stop Spopovich from killing Videl. And finally, Videl gets wrung out.
It's bad. It's gross. The whole thing is gross.
The whole thing is gross. The bald guys have more important things to do, in quotes.
They kick Videl out of the ring, and she's crying at this point because she was just getting her head fucking stomped on.
Yeah,
like,
she's almost dead.
Spopovich was just being a piece of shit.
In any other DBZ saga, like the good guy would have made the turn, powered up, and finished off the bad guy. And that's just not this story at this moment. There are 7 seasons of development where you get your expectations going in one direction, and this totally flips it, and it is effective.
Mm-hmm. I wish J.J. Abrams and Akira Toriyama from this era could get together and write the best goddamn thing in the universe.
The best DBZ live action movie?
Well, I don't know, because J.J. Abrams isn't a good writer. He's a pretty good director, but I don't think he's a good fucking writer.
I actually agree with that wholeheartedly.
But he just has the mystery box idea. So if you had somebody that knew how to do that properly.
Yeah, exactly.
But Toriyama does that kind of. It's not mystery box.
You can see him learning to do it as the sagas progress.
Yeah.
Sure. This is the perfect example where the mystery is just laid out so finely over the course of like 10 episodes, and instead of like a excited kid at Christmas just rips open the first package.
So they take Videl off. They take Videl to the hospital, basically.
Yeah, Gohan actually like goes out there and carries Videl to the sick bay or whatever.
Goku keeps saying, "Don't worry, Gohan, she's not going to die," over and over to Gohan. How does Goku know that?
I don't know.
He doesn't. Then Goku turns to Krillin, and this is what broke the tension for me, because it made me laugh really hard. Goku turns to Krillin and says, "Hey, Krillin, where are the sensu beads?" Like, just on instinct, he just turns to Krillin. It's been, 8 years, however long since they've done this. And Krillin's like, "What the fuck? What do you think? That's my purse or something? Dude, I don't just carry that shit around with me." And Goku's like, "Why not?" And then he goes to Korin's. He fucks off to Korin's.
It's not verbatim, but that is what happens. Goku instant transmissions to Korin's tower to get sensu beans for Videl, which is a nice sentiment, but he does have a pretty funny conversation with Krillin up to that point. Videl gets moved into the infirmary, whatever. Hercule can't believe his daughter lost. This moment where Videl's in a freaking hospital bed, Gohan and Hercule finally meet each other. I like this. There's a lot of continuity with Hercule's character where he's like, wait a second, this skinny kid wants to be around my daughter. Videl, I told you if there was ever going to be anybody that had your hand, they'd have to beat me in a fight and be strong or whatever. This kid's not going to do. He just kind of rambles. Videl basically like opens her eyes. You know, she's pretty out of it, but she's basically tells Gohan to kill Spopovich.
She's like, "Please beat him for me." Gohan says, "Yeah, I'll beat him." And then she smiles, knowing Gohan's going to beat the fuck out of Spopovich,
which I was excited for. And then Goku arrives on Korin's tower, and Korin gets a bad feeling, and then we kind of end there.
Yep.
Episode 218. The Japanese title is Exposed. The Saiyaman is Son Gohan. The American title is Identities Revealed.
My episode title is A Spoonful of Sensu Helps the Blunt Force Trauma Go Down.
That's a great title.
Our audience is pretty young, right? At this point, I'd like to imagine a fair amount of them. I mean, we probably have a lot of people that are our age, and then probably 1 or 2 grandmas or grandpas.
I hope so, man. Grandma DBZ.
If you're 60 plus,
amazing.
let me know. Yeah, email us it. So I think a lot of young people won't have heard that phrase. This is a spoonful of honey helps the medicine go down. And I don't know why I'm sitting here explaining that. It's just weird to realize that I'm old now, I think. And the things that I'm saying are like what my parents would say together and laugh. And I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I never watched The Jerk. I never watched whatever it was. Insert movie. Okay, Hercule is in with Videl. There's a bunch of reporters at the door. Hercule goes out and goes into stone-faced Hercule mode. But you can tell he is very concerned about his daughter. And some of the things the reporters ask are, is there anything you'd like to say to Spopovich? And Hercule gets furious and starts crushing all of the microphones, just ranting, I'm going to beat the living fuck. And he's crushing all the microphones as he's saying it. And it reminded me that, Hercule's actually pretty strong compared to the rest of the general human public.
Yeah, I think that's something that is not showcased quite enough yet in this saga because he's been so diva. He has actually won the world's martial arts tournament before, and he is a strong man.
And we even get a little recall of his fight with Spopovich.
Yeah, which never has been seen before, right? Like this flashback is brand new. Just okay.
Do you think this flashback is real? Or do you think it's been altered by Hercule's idea of what he was like?
I want to say that it's real because us as an audience are seeing it for the first time. So it would be odd if it was also twisted through the lens of Hercule's own perception. I firmly believe that Hercule did win that tournament. And I don't know who he was before he won, but I like to imagine that he probably wasn't nearly as cocky as after he won. And so I think this is probably Hercule before Hercule.
Yeah, but even in the flashback, which short version of the flashback, Hercule fights what Spopovich used to look like. Spopovich,
which is like he's got hair and facial hair, and like he's different enough that I honestly thought that they had remixed his character from an earlier version of Dragon Ball or something. Mm-hmm. But this is totally new.
And Hercule wins. Just dodges Spopovich's hits and looks
he's a good fighter.
Like a professional, yeah. Then we cut to, this is one of those cuts that I was like, this didn't need to be here. We cut to Videl's friends going to see Videl.
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes, I hope this isn't a sign because we get a recap for 45 seconds of shithead mullet fuck's camera breaking. And we didn't need that.
It's true.
And they get this super weird music track, happy, upbeat techno pop. Like it's so strange and out of place. So they see the Saiyaman run by to get back to Goku and acquire senzu beans to help Videl. And that's where Sharpener's like, I will find out who you are. And I'm like, dude, your plot line's dead. I don't give a fuck anymore. Shut up.
It is weird that he's in this episode at all. Either that's it for him or he gets like one more sequence that I didn't bother writing about.
We'll get there.
But Goku's still gone and they go to Korin's tower, the camera, and he's eating. Of course.
That made me laugh too.
It was pretty funny, but like I still feel this like intense Videl needs to be okay sort of.
Same. I was pissed at Goku. I thought it was funny, but I was furious. I was like,
exactly.
You fucking idiot. It makes sense though.
Goku's like, oh god, I gotta go. We cut back to the tournament. There's the two bald guys, Spopovich and friend, have this weird like sort of dragon radar. It's like white and spiky.
It almost looks like it has a clock on it nearly.
Yeah, the interface is a clock and the 12 is an M.
Just like they have on their foreheads, they have an M.
The hand of the clock is moving up and down and whatever.
They're hiding behind who we now know is the Supreme Kai and the Big Red Boy, who I don't know if Big Red Boy has been name dropped quite yet, but his name is Kibito.
Yeah, I put his name as Kibito in my next note, so I think that they dropped his name somewhere around here.
So the M gang is like, maybe they're the ones we're here for. And none of it is explained. It's just kind of like whoa.
It's just more mystery stuff. Yeah. Gohan is next up versus Kibito, the large sort of red-faced, white-haired guy. Chi-Chi yells from the crowd, yay, that's my Gohan. But obviously Gohan is dressed as the Saiyaman, doesn't want his identity revealed. She's having a hard time keeping track of that stuff. And Gohan refuses to go out. He's kind of waiting for the senzu beans to get there. Make sure Videl's okay before he goes
Dad so long?
Yeah. In that instant, Goku comes back. He's only got 3 senzu beans. Apparently, they're having an off season in Korin's tower, and they were only able to grow 3.
Yeah. How do they not have them? At this point, how are they not creating these en masse? Like how?
Right?
How?
There has been no otherworldly threat in 7 years, and they've got nothing else to do. Like, why aren't there thousands of senzu beans?
It's another standing question that I need answered.
But whatever. There was no fertilizer.
Artificial tension. That's what I'm going to call it. I call it artificial tension because Toriyama knows that this is a cure-all to fix any fucking problem.
Well, I kind of got to give the show points there, because while it's not properly explained, they realize it's a cure-all, and so they set a limit before that becomes relevant. Like later down the line, something could happen where they're like, shit, we need sensor beams. Oh, we
just
only
want
had
one
3.
throwaway line. I
Like,
just want an explanation throwaway.
Yeah, I agree. There should have been something there that's like one thing. Since Dende took over as Guardian of the Earth, he's been less powerful. We haven't been able to grow the sensor beans. Goku gives Gohan the 3 sensor beans. Gohan makes his way to the hospital room. Hercule is there saying, don't you think you can impress my daughter with a bean? I do like that there's some conflict here with this sort of like Eastern medicine versus Western medicine kind of debate where Gohan's coming in with like a bean, like a literal bean. And the doctor's like, I don't know if we should give that to her. And Gohan's like, no, dude, just trust me. And so eventually Videl takes the bean. But I like that there's some tension there.
I drew the same comparison.
Gohan heads out to his tournament match, because he's up next. Hercule says, you better stay away from my daughter. And he's literally in front of every single reporter when he says that, which is not touched on again in the show, which is fine. But I just thought it was funny that like, that would be a thing, right? Like that would totally be a thing.
That's the story. That's the story. Also,
yeah.
How do these reporters have fucking cameras, by the way, when Piccolo blew up
Because they don't work. They don't work. And whatever they're using or whatever they're trying to use don't work, because we see later outside of the tournament that the cameras still aren't working.
Oh, that's true. It's just showing a face of Hercule. So maybe they don't know like that they don't work. And
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, is they're broken, but they don't know they're broken.
This is the end of Sharpener. Gohan goes onto the stage. They all see him through binoculars and they're like, wait a sec. Because all Gohan has right now is glasses. The turban thing, when he went Super Saiyan, blew off.
Yeah. So all he's got now is the sunglasses.
I need to mention Gohan, well, he has just the glasses and the Super Saiyan hair, looks like anime Duke Nukem. He looked like anime Duke Nukem. He really did. And I want somebody to tell me I'm right or wrong.
Did you ever play Duke Nukem Forever?
I didn't, because I don't give a shit about Duke Nukem. I was a Doom guy. There's only room for one boomer shooter love.
Dude, I was more of a Duke Nukem than a Doom. I really liked Duke Nukem Forever. I used to get drunk and play the multiplayer. They had a really cool progression system where you'd have like a home base and you could unlock shit, mini games and concept art and things like that. The more you played the multiplayer, so I'd get drunk and play that.
Games have incredible multiplayer components, and let's be honest, we should just make a video game podcast so we stop talking about it in our DBZ podcast.
Yeah.
I love multiplayer games that have incredible components and ideas that just die. Like, did you ever play the Crisis multiplayer?
No. What did they have?
So you start off with a base. You were all super covert operative soldiers with incredible mega powers. And so you could buy whatever guns you wanted, and you earned credits the same way by eliminating the enemy soldiers or whatever. But you could buy vehicles and start sieging the enemy base. You could plant nuke strike beacons and shit. Like, it was an incredible idea. And I love multiplayer that is not just banging. You know, it's not just hop in and kill and hop in and kill and hop in and kill. I love the depth. It's upsetting when a game like Duke Nukem Forever has this really awesome idea and no one's ever going to give a shit because of other reasons. Like, oh, it's not this, it's a this game, it's that whatever. It took for 12 years to come out. It reminds me of, you played this with me, Doom 2016. And of course, I'm talking about Doom.
The multiplayer in that?
Yeah, we played the multiplayer in that, but it wasn't the versus multiplayer. It was called Snap Map.
It was really fun. Yeah.
I made a bunch of fucking maps for co-op. And like, nobody gave a shit about that. And it was a throwback to the Doom community's modding days. And then Doom Eternal doesn't even have a fucking death. I can't start. I hate Doom Eternal. I fucking despise Doom Eternal. It's a really fun game, but I will not fucking stand for anybody that thinks Doom Eternal isn't shitting on the legacy of what Doom actually means to a lot of PC gamers.
Oh my God.
Fight me. Bring it. I know this isn't going in the podcast, but I'm talking to you, basically.
I don't know. We'll see. But I appreciate that because I haven't even beaten Doom 2016 yet. Because I buy way too many video games.
As far as a video game is concerned, Doom Eternal is a better game. As far as a legacy to what Doom is in terms of video games, Doom 2016 is the better game. There. That's the easiest way to put it. Anyway, we're talking about Gohan finally getting into the ring. It's Gohan versus big red dude with white hair. Serious. Gohan is asked by Kibito to show him his Super Saiyan powers. Kibito says we may be able to use them. Gohan's like, what the fuck? How do you know about Super Saiyan stuff? It'll kind of reveal me. but he's already revealed because the teenager gang in the crowd figures out it's Gohan, starts chanting his name. He's like, okay, I guess the gig is up, whatever. He tosses the sunglasses, goes Super Saiyan.
Well, starts to go Super Saiyan.
Starts.
That is the end of the episode.
I forgot it ends that way.
It does. It's really weird. It's maybe the slowest sort of transformation that we've seen, and it doesn't complete in this episode, but there's like waves of energy coming up all around him and stuff.
Really unique transformation as far as they go. Because a lot of the time it's one frame, they're not, and then the next frame you hear and then they are.
Yeah. As Gohan's powering up, the narrator is saying like, now with this mysterious force that's been revealed and the Supreme Kai and Kibito, why do they want Gohan? Why do they want energy? I don't know. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. And then the next episode starts.
I love your narrator voice. It's so fucking funny because you get the cadence like exactly it, but you have no.
Yeah, it's a monotone narrator. Yeah,
it's exactly what he sounds like if he was on the toilet reading the newspaper or something.
Oh, that Marmaduke, he's getting into some trouble today.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So episode 219, the Japanese title is A Slithering Conspiracy. Gohan's power is stolen. The American title is Energy Drain.
My episode title is A Moment of Confusion just before the setup to the end of the series, which is not a good episode title. It's not funny. It doesn't have any wit, nothing. It's really long, but I'm excited to be getting to the end of Dragon Ball Z. Not that I want to end the podcast or see it end.
I know.
I can't believe we got here. The scary
part for me is, we're closer than ever to the end. I don't know.
We're done forever. And then we're just never making another podcast like this again.
Yeah.
So
this episode opens with Gohan and Kibito facing off against each other. I like the shot of the tournament floor. I don't know if it's the first time that you see this, but this is the first time that I noticed it. The World Tournament Arena sort of thing is all scuffed up, scratched, broken a little bit. Like it's taken some heat. When you first see it, like back before the first battles, it's almost like glass. Like it's shiny and reflective and stuff, and it's been beaten up here. I like the wear and tear that it slowly gets throughout the arc. It's very cool.
So is this the point where he goes Super Saiyan, and the reason you're mentioning the ground is because the Super Saiyan transformation is amazing?
Yes, so it kind of backtracks a little bit. I don't remember who says it exactly. I think it's Kibito who's like, those two bald dudes, those two weird looking M4-headed bald dudes, they're trying to find big energy signatures. It's not Kibito, it's Supreme Kai.
It's Supreme Kai.
And he's talking to like Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo and all that. And once Gohan goes Super Saiyan, that they're going to target him. They're going to go after him. We have to let it happen.
Yeah.
It's very important that we let it happen. Supreme Kai says that nobody should interfere with this process. Gohan goes, all right, do you want me to go Super Saiyan or do you want me to go even further than Super Saiyan? And Kibito's like, what the fuck? There's something higher than Super Saiyan? It's very weird to me that the Kais know that Super Saiyan is a thing, but they don't know that Super Saiyan 2 is a thing.
I think they were going for a little bit of like, oh, our heroes are cooler than even the gods think or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense.
But whatever. So Gohan starts to transform, and this transformation is very cool. His eyes change color first. They go from black to blue before his hair changes, which is the first time we've seen anything like this, which I really like. He yells and yells and yells. There's a giant burst of energy, obviously. The whole screen is filled up with white. When it comes back, his hair is blonde, longer, obviously. He's still screaming. And when he sort of like finishes the transformation, I think he's Super Saiyan 2 here. I'm pretty sure, because his hair is a little bit longer than usual. Although nobody ever says anything specific.
Well, he's got the electricity. That's how he's got the electric arcs.
Yeah, there you go. He's got the electricity. Chunks of the floor of the arena start falling down. And they've sort of hovered as he's transformed. Individual tiles have been picked up from the floor. It hasn't cracked or broken or anything. And these individual tires fall down like Tetris blocks back to where they were, but they're just a little bit more crumbly and just a little bit off of the alignment. It's really cool, actually.
It's a very, very awesome visual. The visuals so far, we've said this not enough, more than enough. Both of those things, but this arc is great.
And so Gohan is sitting there in front of the thousands of people having transformed into Super Saiyan. Videl is looking at this because she's healed and finds out that Gohan is not only Saiyaman, which she knew before, but also the Golden Fighter from way at the beginning of the saga. She's kind of floored. Meanwhile, her high school friends discover that Gohan is both Saiyaman and Golden Fighter, which just floors them even more than you could ever imagine. Even though Gohan is very powerful here, and every one of the Z fighters can kind of feel that, Vegeta comments that Gohan is not as powerful as he was when he defeated Cell, which I think is a very cool bit of lore because he's let himself relax and stuff like that. But Vegeta can tell that he's not quite as powerful as then, which is cool because it sets the scale for everything that's going to come after this.
Reading through how Vegeta says it, Vegeta is stronger than Gohan was when he fought Cell, or at least Vegeta thinks so.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like if he were to go Super Saiyan or whatever, but at this moment, I think it's Supreme Kai that says like Gohan is the most powerful person in this fight, in
That's
this
what
arena.
Supreme Kai says, but also Kibito was surprised that Gohan could go Super Saiyan too. So there's a bit of conflicting. Like we're not really sure who is strongest right now, but we have a scale.
All right, so Supreme Kai, I think maybe Kabuto. One of them questions, will this be enough? They're referring to Gohan's power. Is he going to be powerful enough to make this work? Whatever they need these people for is not related to the tournament at all. And we don't know what it is yet, and neither do our heroes. I'm excited. I want to see what the hell they're talking about.
I'm curious about your feelings of the end of this episode.
The end of this episode is maybe the worst part of these 5 episodes, in my opinion.
We'll get there. I have mixed feelings on it too. Anyway, they go after Gohan because he's transformed, just like Supreme.
These two bald men.
They not only have the weird dragon radar thing, which looks Namekian. Did you notice that? Like Namekian tech?
Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah, it looks like their houses.
And they also have this weird shop vac with a needle on the end of it, like a almost Cell.
I thought it was the same thing. Isn't it the dragon radar? It just has a point at the end of it.
No, I don't know if it's the same exact thing or not.
All right. Well, whatever. They have instruments.
They do. They come jamming right into the middle. They go after Gohan, and Gohan feels them.
Gohan does sense their presence as they approach the arena, and Gohan's ready to defend himself. Puts his hand up. He's ready to defend himself. Supreme Kai's like, no, you don't. I'm going to stop you. And for some reason, freezes Gohan, stops him in his tracks, uses his power somehow to disable Gohan.
Which there is a moment here where you feel like, oh shit, this is a hard double cross.
Yes. The way that these two big figures, the Supreme Kai and Kibito, have been presented thus far, we don't actually know their allegiance or what they're after or why they're doing this or anything. The two bald men, including Spopovich, show up at the arena, breaking so many rules, and stab the guy with their little syringe device into Gohan's stomach.
It makes me laugh. You just really wanted a fucking tournament, huh?
I did. They violate so many tournament rules right now. We're only in like round 4. There's enough references at this point to know that they're stealing Gohan's energy.
That's what the tool is going to do. It's going to siphon and absorb Gohan's energy.
Everybody on the sidelines is either in the camp of defend and try to stop these guys from doing this, or don't do anything at all and prevent other people from interfering. So Piccolo stops Krillin. Krillin tries to go save Gohan.
Videl gets stopped by Goku, and they have kind of a cute little, not cute, but like a good moment.
Nice, yeah, it's like a nice moment between.
And it's just a moment.
Videl wants to help Gohan, obviously, and Goku's like, no. We got to trust Supreme Kai. Supreme Kai says that Gohan is in no danger, but Gohan is like screaming. He's having his energy stolen. His Super Saiyan-ness, the golden hair and everything kind of like fades out in a way that we've never seen before. I don't like it. Like it seems like they're killing Gohan, basically. Yeah. Like even Goten and Trunks from the sidelines, not involved in this at all, or just like, oh, what's going on? Goten's like, I gotta go. And Trunks is like, no, stay here. I really love the idea of Goten and Trunks screwing this up for everybody and charging in when like even the Supreme Kai is like, no, let this happen. But it didn't work out that way. But I feel like since they're at the sidelines, since nobody knows they're involved in the adult tournament, nobody would think to tell them or include them in the conversation. And so they would have just charged ahead to try to save Gohan. I feel like that there's just a little bit missing from the good guys. It's fine. Like the way that Krillin is stopped, the way that the Videl is stopped. I
think what we're missing, honestly, is I think we're missing Vegeta's middle ground option, which is Vegeta should have showed up and said, if you don't explain what's going on right now, I'm going to beat the shit out of you to Supreme Kai or something.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, we're missing that right between
somebody
helping
getting
and
like
not.
Exactly. Somebody getting fed up enough that they at least demand answers instead of being
Right,
cool
yeah.
with whatever this mysterious figure says. I don't think that it's a deal breaker. I still
Yeah.
think that this arc is pretty well presented, but it does leave a little bit to be desired here, for sure.
And you know what it is? You know what's very funny about Dragon Ball Z that I've noticed? The better the show is, the more I want out of it. The more I want, like, every tiny edge that I can see to just be rounded off.
It's never going to be perfect, but at least when it's really great, it's really great. And there's so little that needs to be done to bring it up to the next level. You just want it to get there.
Yeah. Versus when it's really bad, you just give up. It really is like when
you don't
really
even care anymore. Yeah.
Anyway, the M heads are done sucking Gohan's energy out of his body, and Gohan hits the ground. He's out.
They even like desaturate his skin so it's more pale.
And so they take off. They fly away.
This is the moment where the tournament effectively ends. At least for now. Supreme Kai is basically like, Kibito's going to help Gohan get his energy back up. I got to go. I got to follow these guys to wherever they're going and whatever they're doing with that energy. That's why we were here to begin with. You're welcome to follow me, Goku, but you don't have to. And I'd understand if you didn't. Bye. And Supreme Kai flies off. Goku's going to go.
Of course he is.
I'm totally on Goku's side at this moment. Krillin instantly is like, I'm going to go too. Great. Krillin does say like, I got to go tell my wife. So he kind of walks off. Vegeta's like, Kakarot, you cannot take off right now. We've got a battle coming up. There's like 2 rounds of the World Martial Arts Tournament before Goku and Vegeta are supposed to fight each other. And Vegeta knows that Goku only has 24 hours on Earth. He doesn't want this one chance to fight against him to get away. So he's like, whatever you do, you better get back here. Within 2 rounds of the tournament, I'm going to fight you. And Goku's like, okay, fine.
They all leave. Krillin's gone. Piccolo's gone. Goku is gone. And Vegeta
flies off as well. Krillin goes to his wife and asks if it's, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go do this. Right. I actually like the scene a lot because 18 says like, yeah, your friends need you. Go help them. I'm going to stay here and win us some cold hard cash, which means that the Hercule 18 fight that was promised a few episodes ago is still on the table. And I'm very excited about that. And I like the scene between them. I think it's really good. At this point, we've had 5 or 6 contestants of the tournament fly away and kind of break the entire bracket that's been formed. I'm okay with it because we've had enough cutaways. We've had enough like introduction to characters. We've had enough like music cues that build on this mystery that's been happening in the background that I want answers to. And so at this moment, I'm more than okay with transitioning away from the tournament arc.
Videl wants to go now. Videl and
Kibito heals Gohan.
That's what happens.
Just as promised, and Gohan is in ship shape, perhaps even more powerful than before. So Videl insists on going with Gohan. Please let me go. Please let me go. Even if you don't let me go, I'm going to follow you anyway. Very independent character. Very
knows what she wants.
Yeah. And she's going to go along too. So Gohan's like, okay, just promise me that if things get a little hairy, you'll just go away. You can come with me. And she agrees.
And then Hercule and the crowd watch Gohan and Videl fly off together.
Yeah, Hercule is very disappointed that his daughter is flying off with a strange man.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what he's thinking in this.
It's hard to read in Japanese. He says, "I knew I should have grounded you," which is a fair joke that I don't know why they didn't use it because DBZ is not above dad jokes, obviously.
It's true. As they fly off, this cool thing happens. Gohan, Kibito, well, actually, it's just Gohan and Videl fly off out of the tournament. And as they leave the tournament grounds, the sky around the tournament, as far as I can remember at this point, has always been just white. Like there's just sky beyond that. And as they leave the tournament grounds, the sky clears and you can see the whole wide world. Like the horizon, cities in the distance, stuff like that. As if metaphorically we're expanding the scope of this story to the wider world, finally, instead of just being in this. I don't know if it's that deep, but I appreciated the visual for sure. It's a really cool shot. Chi-Chi sees Gohan go and just for once, just wants him to be careful. Still a very good version of Chi-Chi. The World Tournament announcer is clueless on how to proceed with the tournament because half the bracket just flew away. Up until this point, perfect. The entire arc has been beautiful, lovely, well crafted, set up payoffs, all that stuff. This is the last 5 minutes.
I'm very mixed because on the one hand, we get a payoff, but the delivery, though.
We get a lot of answers to questions that have been asked. I think you could have stretched out the mystery of it all without annoying the audience and got into the next season of the show without all of these questions answered. It would have been more exciting.
The pull of a mystery is stronger than the expectation.
Yeah. The answers are interesting, but they aren't as compelling enough as the mystery that came before it.
Exactly.
There's a sense of discovery, right? As an audience member, if you put the pieces together by yourself and then you're like, oh man, that's what it is, it automatically gets a couple more points in your head than if the answer were just to be spelled out for you. So if they would have waited on the answers until you could kind of put the pieces together for yourself, I think it would have been overall a more successful plot. But they decide to just spill out. It's the end of the season. They're going to spill out the answers and they're going to kind of paint a picture of what's coming.
Yeah. So just to spill the whole thing out, the M boys, we get to hear from them. They say two names. They say Majin Buu will be resurrected with this power. Babidi will be very pleased with us. And we don't know who the fuck either of those people are. Well, first, Gohan and Videl meet Kibito as this explanation begins.
This scene is actually really cool. It does bounce between Supreme Kai and Kibito. Supreme Kai is with Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Krillin, and Kibito's with Gohan and Videl. And they tell this story to both groups, but it's cutting back and forth as they go. So it keeps going from Supreme Kai's point of view to Kibito's and back and forth. They tell this story of this ancient wizard named Bibidi. Oh, God. Who created this destructive force called, do they call him Majin Buu at this point?
I'm pretty sure this is Majin Buu.
Majin Buu was this just otherworldly force of nature.
It was designed to kill all living things.
Yeah, a magic-based being that just destroyed planets upon planets upon planets upon planets. Bibidi was smart enough to create a sort of control spell. If you wanted to turn him from on to off, he'd just say the spell, and this he'd be in a ball, defenseless in a ball. And then he'd have to say the counter spell to get him back out again, to get him in Destructo mode. Earth was the next target, put him in the ball to rest up. The 5 Grand Kais, we find out there were actually 5 Grand Kais, which is actually a really cool piece of lore, and I liked it a lot. And I kind of wish it had been explored through the actual Grand Kai, but whatever, it still adds to the character a little bit. They fought and fought and fought, and eventually only 1 Grand Kai survived, defeated Bibidi. But unbeknownst to everybody, Bibidi had a son called Babidi, and that's where I'm getting so confused. Babidi wants to resurrect Buu. Bibidi, Babidi, Buu. This is where it gets a little cloudy. First of all, funny joke. Goku's like, Buu, it sounds like a fart in the Japanese subtitles.
I did think that was funny.
It was funny because it was so out of place.
In the middle of this explanation of universal destruction.
Yeah, exactly.
Would say something like that. Vegeta also thinks in his head, this Majin Buu would have made a decent Saiyan. And Supreme Kai says out loud, you're wrong, Vegeta. Just like flat tells Vegeta to shut the fuck up. And this is why I have such a fucking boner for Supreme Kai. Because Supreme Kai is the number one. The most regal, the most direct, knows everything, has mind reading powers, is hot as fuck, super powerful. Goddamn. Tells Vegeta to shut the fuck up. Marry me.
Buu is now wrapped up in a cocoon. Supreme Kai could have destroyed Buu, but then just fucking, he's like, that's good enough. The wizard's dead. He's the only one that knew the counter spell, so we're probably good.
Right.
And that's it.
It's like there's a nuke that exists on the planet, and this nuke will just continuously explode on different planets, blowing them up, but nobody knows the launch codes.
Yeah, nobody knows the launch codes. It's fine. But spoiler alert, Spopovich and friend have the fucking launch codes, so now they're going to go resurrect this ancient evil. I feel a lot of different ways about this. I think it's good because it introduces a threat in a way that we haven't seen before. Using magic, ancient evil, and we don't know what it is, there's still a little bit of that mystery element that I think is going to be interesting moving forward. The fact that Vegeta is excited about it is kind of fun. Not everybody's thinking the same way about this, so that kind of introduces potential character conflicts in the future. Having the most powerful beings in the known universe come down to Earth to try to deal with this is very interesting. I do not like the way that they delivered all the backstory about it. I think that it could have been dulled out little by little throughout the next season to kind of like reinforce the mystery box and also just avoid a scene of plot dump.
We'd hoped that they would evolve from it.
Yeah, like we've been accustomed to it in the previous sagas, and then this saga happened and it didn't at all happen.
Yeah.
I was impressed by the way that they handled it. I would have hoped that the storytelling expertise would have continued through the end of the season into the next one, and it kind of faltered a little bit at the end. Just tripped up a little bit because the plot of the next season is so different than what has come before. And while I think it's handled the shift very well, I feel like Toriyama got scared, or that like the network said audiences aren't going to follow this. You need to do something here. And they just like dumped a bunch of plot. I really feel like that was a little bit of a misstep. But for the most part, these 5 episodes were just amazing.
I didn't mind it, if only because it reminded me what this show is all about. Because we've been on this cute little vacation, this little road trip across the country, so where we get to enjoy
now it's time to go back to the office.
Yeah, now it's time to head back to the office. And this is like your boss being like, here's what you missed. Here's the schedule for this week. It told us all the key points. It didn't add unnecessary bullshit information that we didn't care about. And now we have a setup to what's going to occur next. It was very concise as far as setups go.
You're not wrong, but also it was just like, hey, there's an actual space wizard and you're going to have to fight him. Basically, like it was so outlandish, even for Dragon Ball Z, that I had a hard time chewing it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you suggested. But I don't fault the show for doing it the way that it did. In the beginning, I said it jumped tracks. And when you land on another track, I don't know if you've ever jumped a steam locomotive going 80 miles an hour from one track to another, Spencer, but it's...
Of course I have, you idiot.
Oh, well, then you know it's a jarring experience when you land. And that's kind of what this felt like. It was like, bam, we're latching on to the next track and then we're going.
As always, a perfect analogy. I'm on board. I'm okay with them abandoning the tournament arc, but there's still like feelers out there, right? Like Goten and Trunks are still there. 18's still there. Hercule's still there. There's still stuff going on there. But now there's this bigger threat that's looming that our heroes are going to. Goku's still on the clock. He's only got, a few hours left before he has to go back up to Otherworld. That's got to be resolved somehow. There's still some interesting stuff going on. And we're going to find out the exact details of all that and more next time on Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z.
Nothing will ever live up to the last time you see.
I know. I can't. Well, and my voice is shot because it's been 2.5 hours. So
yeah, so is mine. I'm grumbly as shit right now. Thank you for listening to Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z. He might hate the show, but he loves that you're listening. If you feel like sending us feedback, good or bad, or maybe just your grandmother's falafel recipe, let us know. Mail, MAIL at ehdbz.com. We also have a Twitter that is going to be at Eric Hates DBZ. Spencer's very active on that, always posting, and you can show him some love for spending the time to do that. Music for this podcast is me. I'm Burn7 on SoundCloud. This is part of the Rocktopus Network of podcasts. Check out the rest of our podcasts at rocktopusnetwork.com. This is the most like lackadaisical. We're just like checking boxes with this one.
I know, yeah.
But we do want to give a little bit more effort to thank all of our patrons at the end of the episode for providing us with the ability to even fucking do this. That's not true. We'd still do it. But we super appreciate it. It helps us push forward. Honestly, it really does. And we like to thank every single person at the end of it. Those wonderful individuals are Felix Rodriguez, Dan I got this, Umate, Spencer Feuerstein, Hearst Red Out of Gas, Jeffrey Grimm, CJ Collins. I hope you like the way that I say your name, CJ Collins, because it's the same way every single time. CJ Collins, Lori, Artex, the creator, Croy Keener, Tyler Hyatt, Andrew Winden, Richard Alanihaza.
It was very bad.
Just cut that out. Just don't. And finally, we have a newcomer, Gunnet Bawa, which is just my favorite name that I've ever seen. Really, you seem like a Star Wars mercenary alien. That's what the name seems like. So if you would also like to have us lampoon and or say your names incorrectly, check out our Patreon. Patreon.com/EHDBZ. We plug it all the fucking time.
I think that's everything. Thank you so much to our patrons, and we're gonna go, live our lives now. We'll catch y'all next time. But before we go, we have to say,
you have something? Is that what you're pausing?
no. We got Shin. We got Kabuto. Beto.
You didn't have something. I was hoping that you were gonna hit me with you were gonna be like a baseball pitcher, and I ruined it. Fuck! I was hoping you were gonna Spavopa pitch me something good.
Oh God.
I know. That's what it was.
Oh.
I know.
Is that good enough? Was that a good pun?
No, but when do we ever have a good pun?
All right, I'm gonna go get some Din Din. I'm gonna go get some Shin Shin.
Hey, fuck this. All right, let's stop.
Bye.